What's the one thing that I have learned from every book that I have read? I have read a lot of books throughout the years. Just in the past 2 months, I've probably read about 9 books. So I have a lot of knowledge. I promise you that at the end of this video, you will know that you will get knowledge, specified knowledge from so many books, and also you'll be able to pick and choose whatever books you want. Even if you want to read them, you will have an idea about them. And the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to break down every three books alone. Okay, so let's start. The first book that I'm going to start with is Think and Grow Rich. The biggest thing that I have learned from this book is actually just thought vibration, as he said, or the unconscious mind. How can you use your unconscious mind in a way that actually helps you? So everybody uses their unconscious mind sometimes in a way that sabotages them. If you self-sabotage yourself, or they call it imposter syndrome, you are not in an unfair advantage. It's not unfair advantage. The unfair advantage is using your unconscious mind to give you a push that not everyone is having. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. So whilst reading this book, it gives a weird comprehension about this topic. It tells you about how there is a vibration in the ether. The ether, which is the substance of the entire universe, is made of. The darkness between the stars, that is the ether. And he says the ether is the energy of the unconscious mind. And that what gives us the inspirations, or the all of the moments, the visions, is us tapping into that unconscious mind, which it's not only the most powerful part of humans, but also it's the part that sets us all apart in different ways. And he says that the only way for you to access unlimited intelligence, which is necessary for success, is by practicing unconsciousness, or going through this unconscious mind. This is a weird understanding. Look, it's awesome understanding. And it gives you a lot of understanding, you know. And he says you cannot access this except for the people that actually practice accessing it. And you cannot access it except if you use emotions. So it's not only logic. Logic stuff doesn't work. He says you have to use your emotions for you to tap into this unconsciousness. And he says even that you can get stuff that most people are not getting. And that's the same thing that used by Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, all of the artists, Leonardo da Vinci, everyone. They tapped into this unconscious mind, right? The same thing goes with musicians, artists, and everything. So the thing about it is not only that it's pretty good, okay? But the book is awesome. Also talks about auto-suggestion, which is the inner dialogue in your head, and how you actually should use it into your favor, so you control what you say to yourself, which will give you the unfair advantage over the others, and you're like, oh, that's awesome, okay? And it gives you even other stuff. The second book that I'm going to talk about is The Richest Man in Babylon. So we're still in the finance field. The Richest Man in Babylon, so it's a book that talks about finance in this very delicate way. It's very similar to the Think and Grow Rich, but in my opinion is insanely different. Because one, Think and Grow Rich teaches you which chapters. So there's different chapters, different sections, different points, right? With The Richest Man in Babylon also has chapters, but also it has stories in it. So it teaches you with stories, and it gives you an example with the essence, with the information. The same thing is done by the Think and Grow Rich, but this is more smooth. So the entire book is a story, but there is lessons throughout the book. The most important thing that actually I have learned from the book is about slavery. I understood that although slavery has ended, a while ago, most of us are still slaves until this day. To this day, most of us are slaves. So if that being slave to something, if that being slave to someone, right, it doesn't matter. But you are a slave. Most people are a slave to their jobs, to whatever it is. And the way that I think about it and the way that I understood it is by understanding the definition of a slave, understanding the definition of a free man, which is very clear in this chapter, in this book, because he speaks about all of the differences and he speaks about the stories of people that were slaves. Now they are the masters of their faith. And also he goes through these transitions in some of the most important characters in the book. And once he recites that, or basically like you hear the story or you read it, you understand how it's so similar to our daily lives. We're not slaves by name, but we are slaves in reality. At least most of us, okay? I'm not a slave, but most of us are slaves. And if you are a slave, like probably you will not know that you are a slave until you've read this book. And that's like the mind-boggling thing. In addition to like 500 things that I have read in that book. It's that good. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. What's the next thing? The next book that I'm going to speak about is one of the first book that I read actually about finances and self-help book. Is The Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay, I have a copy of him, everything. So this book is showing you the difference between the mindset of two fathers. One of them is poor, one of them is rich. They're not really fathers. So two people, one of them rich, one of them poor. Okay, that's it. And he explains to you the difference between them. It's very simple. Okay. I think for me, the most important thing that I got from the book, and probably everyone will get it from the book, is how to make money work for you and not work for your money. So it's not only the idea, okay, which is, of course, it's awesome, but it's how he did it. It's a very good thing. I think for myself, it's very good at the beginning, but it's confusing at the end, okay? So when you start really trying to practice the book, you're like, well, what should I do now? Of course, you comprehend how your money is working for you. So it's like an investment, right? And he goes deeper and deeper into subjects of talking about more than one definition, more than one understanding, right? It taps into different fields, which is awesome. Also, I love the stories at the beginning when he was young. I think it's very awesome. Like, it shows that really, I think the main thing he put them there is because he wanted to teach people how to start a startup or a company or a project from the beginning. And it's sort of like what are the stuff that you get through, and also probably mentorship. These are stuff that are just subjects that are not directly mentioned in the book. But for me, I think the most important thing is how to make money work for you. Don't work for money. How to do it, I think, is actually more clarified in more books, like the ones that I would get into just next in a few minutes. Okay. Another book that I think is very important is Persuasions. So Persuasion is a book that changes everything in your mind about persuasion, because it tells you what are the essence on how you persuade people and how people are able to persuade you. And it also goes in depth, and it says you are in your house and you don't make any decisions, nobody hear from you because you don't have good persuasion technique. You're like, dude, what? He says, yes, that's what it is. You know, you see a lot of jobs, if you're a salesperson, it's all about persuasion. If you're in academic education, you're in college, it's all about persuasion, right? So we have all of these interactions, whether it comes to business, whether it comes to decision making, and also for people that feel unheard, right? How can you make yourself heard? How you get what you want, okay? And he goes to in depth actually about it, which means that not only persuasion, but how you convince people and how you argue. So arguments, how you go through arguments with being the winning side. For me, the most important thing that I got from it is get people to like you first, and probably they will do that. They will like be convinced. It's more likely. And how I understood it is with another section. So these are 2 points. I sort of like mixed them together, which is tell a story. This is I use all the time. Tell a story before you convince someone. So it's more of a reason. And there's something that I did 3 years ago. You see the Penny series of Ryan Trahan. I did the same thing, but it was in Arabian countries. Okay, so it's sort of like another version. You see, in another languages, and obviously another like different world because the currencies are not the same. Everything's different. But also I had to do the same thing. Sell a pen, do this, do that. Okay, so I went to these people and I was convincing them. And I had crazy day. I did that, and look, I the first person I went to and I was like, hey, buy this pen with 10 times the price. Okay? He said yes. And I was shocked. My cameraman was shocked. Everyone was shocked at that because everyone told me that it's impossible. Okay, everyone told me that it's impossible to do. But I understood, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. And it doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to do it. And I just did it the first time. So there's also this conversation with me and my friend who is a YouTuber, Adam Astawi, and I was talking, or Adam Asta. I was speaking to him and he said, well, you've done this video, etc., etc. It's like, what made you had that great video, like in terms of views and everything? I said, like, what makes that video special for me is not only the views, but the mental state that I was in. The techniques that I used to persuade everyone in there are different. I don't use every day. It's not something that I had my entire life. I had in some periods, but I was studying. I was all in studying what's made that period different. And one of the conclusions I came to is give a story. So now I give a story almost every time I ask something. Instead of saying, hey, can you give me a pen? I give the story. Hey, I got my pen and for some reason I just lost it. Or I was using my pen all the time to take notes and it just ended, but I have so much responsibilities that I was not even able to buy one. Can I borrow yours for now? And that will help me a lot and means a lot to me. Most likely, people will say yes. Then if you say, can you give me a pen? Okay. So, yeah, this is one thing that I learned from persuasion and something that sort of highlighted what I did 3 years ago. And it was like, well, this makes a lot of sense. So moving on, to not be stuck in the same book, is the book by Alex Hormozi, $100 million offers. So this book talks about a lot of stuff about business aspects. So what's the important thing that I got from it? This is a big one. I think that you put yourself in a value equation instead of a price equation. So everyone is speaking about the price. And look, I am involved in markets all the time. I've been the cook of my house for the year. Like I had periods when I was cooking for 4 people, 3 people in the house all the time. So I go to the markets, I buy all of the stuff. I understand how people buy and sell because that was all my world. So when I was reading that book, I noticed a lot of stuff between the sellers. So some of them were selling the same potato, but for different prices. It was different product. So it's potato, but this one is better. So why is it better? It's probably cleaner. There's not a lot of bad potatoes in it. And you can choose from it, something like that. And they add like 1 mat or 2 mat, okay? And you're like, okay, this makes so much sense. So why is that difference? $100 million offers makes the point or the light on the difference, which is the value equation. The value is you want to be you, whatever it is about you, focus on the value, not the cost, not the price. And he also says, for him, what he does is, if someone wants to lower its price, he does not lower the price but add the value. I was like, this is crazy. I've tried it, it didn't work. Okay, but also this means that probably I just don't have a lot of time to do it. Like, it's not a book that I've read 3-4 years ago, like some of the books in the list, okay? Which is awesome, good thing, whatever. But yeah, it was like very like weird, mind-changing, stuff like that, which is awesome. So the other book that I'm going to be speaking about today is not your ordinary book that you find all the time, okay? The book that I'm going to be speaking of is Who Moved My Cheese. I read it actually twice in my life. It's great of a book. So the essence of the book is, they say, those who do not adapt, they die. You have to adapt fast. That's all. An entire book, 30 pages. That's all. And it says, like, there's a lot of circumstances that happen. The people that win are the faster to change, the faster to adapt. Let's say you are running, all of the sudden it's raining and you stopped. The people that will win are the people that are find out fast. They will get an umbrella. They will do something. They will just run in the rain. They will accept it, whatever it is that they will do, or they get a jacket, whatever it is that they do. So they adapt and they continue the marathon. They win. That's it. Okay, that's awesome. Now I'm going to give you another book. Okay, that's awesome. The book that I'm going to be putting here is the book of Elon Musk biography. Elon Musk biography, I think the most important thing that I've learned. So the most important thing that I have learned from Elon Musk's book is, it's okay to go into drama. It's okay to go into conflicts with people. You see, Elon Musk, his entire life is about drama. It's about going through conflicts with others, not being afraid to say what you actually think and fight for it. And I was like, dude, it's too much. And probably the book is over-exaggerating the drama, but I don't know. I don't care. I know it's true. And it was insane. And that's something that actually changed my mind a lot. Obviously, the story is way too big. There is like 1,300 pages. But yeah, that's something that I've learned. Okay, I'm going to give you another book now. I'm going to give you another book, which is The Way of the Superior Man. It's a book that I do not recommend anyone to read, being honest. Except if you, I don't know. Okay, so just hear this and don't go read it. I don't actually recommend people to read it. So, one thing that I learned from it was, you have to listen to women sometimes, because that's what they want. And that's it. That's the entire book. It talks about a lot of stuff. I don't agree with some of the stuff he says. I think they're bullshit for cowards. So don't be a pussy, don't read that shit. And that's it. Okay, I'm gonna give you another book. So I don't have a lot of time here. I'm gonna give the last book. Okay, let's make it big. Let's make something that actually had a long-lasting effect on me. So I'm going to say a couple of books, which is the 7 Habits of the Most Highly Effective People, and also Daily Habits, not Daily Habits, but the Atomic Habits, and all of the books about habits taught me something, really, which is just that we have habits. Like all of the other content, throughout the years, it doesn't really matter, and most of them I really don't care about. I don't go through the process of building or breaking habits most often as described in those books. Or maybe now it's something that I have in my unconscious mind, so I do without recognizing. Okay, so I'm not struggling to eliminate a habit or just don't, because I have the data and I just look at it and I make a decision. So I have to, which makes all the sense. But it's really in that period when I was reading them, especially because I was developing a lot of habits that now I have the data about. I think definitely it's worth reading, especially if you don't have habits tracked or you don't have habits at all. Okay? And that would be a very awesome book. So, as I told you, you now have the entire information about all the books that I read. Not all of them. I still have a little bit in my pocket. So now you can go read whatever you want and you have a good idea about them. If you don't, you can just take this information and just do whatever you want with it. Subscribe.